So the way you're tracked online, it's about to get a complete makeover. For decades, this tiny piece of code has been following us all around the internet. But you know what? Its time is officially up. We're going to dive into what's replacing it and why it's one of the most ambitious and honestly one of the most controversial overhauls the web has ever seen. You totally know the feeling, right? You look at a pair of sneakers on one website, and then all of a sudden, bam, those exact same sneakers are chasing you across the internet, popping up in ads on every single site you visit. That's not a coincidence, not at all. It's the work of a very specific technology that's been the engine of online advertising for a long, long time. And here it is, the culprit, the third-party cookie. Just think of it like a little digital tracker. When you visit a site, some other company, maybe an advertiser or an analytics firm, slips this little cookie into your browser. From that moment on, it reports back on pretty much everything you do, hopping from site to site with you and building this super detailed profile of all your interests. And this whole practice, well, it became a huge privacy nightmare. For years, these cookies have been tracking us, often without us really understanding what we were agreeing to. They've created these massive, and I mean massive, databases about our behavior, which fuels a multi-billion-dollar data industry. And for the average person, trying to opt out has been confusing and a lot of the time just plain impossible. Well, that entire era is officially coming to an end. Google, whose Chrome browser just dominates the market, is pulling the plug. And this isn't some minor tweak. This is a seismic shift for the entire online world. Now, other browsers like Firefox and Safari, they've been blocking these cookies for a while. But with Chrome finally on board, it's pretty much game over. So what's next? What fills the void? Well, Google's answer is something they're calling the Privacy Sandbox. The name sounds kind of friendly, doesn't it? Like a digital playground. But make no mistake, this is way more than just a new feature. This is Google's grand vision for the future of the entire open web. Okay, so the core promise here is basically to have your cake and eat it too. The idea is to let advertisers show you relevant ads, which, funds a lot of the free content we all enjoy, but to do it without tracking your every single move across the web. It's a pretty radical attempt to find a new balance between our privacy and the economics of the internet.
All right, so how does this thing actually work in practice? Instead of just one tool, the sandbox is a whole collection of new technologies, what developers call APIs, and they're all designed to replace the old jobs that cookies used to do. Let's break down the most important ones.
This is probably the biggest change to wrap your head around. It's a whole new philosophy. The old way was all about individual surveillance, knowing exactly what you specifically looked at. The new way is all about generalization. It's about putting you into a large, anonymous crowd of people who have similar interests.
And the main engine driving this is called the Topics API. Here's how it works. Based on your recent browsing history, your Chrome browser, the software on your computer, will assign you a few general interest topics. So when you visit a site that's part of this system, it can ask your browser, hey, what's this person into? And your browser might say, fitness. The key difference is, the website only learns you're into fitness, not that you spent 10 minutes yesterday staring at a specific brand of yoga pants. And it's really a multi-pronged attack. The Protected Audience API is the one that tackles those creepy ads that follow you around. It basically makes the ad auction happen right on your device, so your data never has to leave. Then there's attribution reporting, which lets advertisers know if an ad worked, but without identifying you. And finally, something called the privacy budget puts a limit on how much data sites can request to stop them from piecing together clues to figure out who you are.
Now, this all sounds pretty good in theory, right? Less tracking, more privacy. But it's just not that simple. This whole move has kicked off a massive debate. Is the Privacy Sandbox a genuine win for our privacy, or is it just a clever way for Google to tighten its grip on the web? And this is really the heart of the whole conflict. On one hand, the optimistic view is super clear.
Getting rid of third-party cookies means way less creepy tracking, and your raw data stays safe on your device. But the skeptical view is just as powerful. Critics are quick to point out that Google still controls everything: the browser, the ad network, and now the very rules of the game. They worry this just puts even more power in Google's hands and makes it harder for anyone else to compete.
And it's not just privacy advocates who are worried. Regulators all over the world are watching this like a hawk. The biggest fear is that Google could use this change, which looks good on the surface, to give itself an unfair advantage in the ad market. The UK is watching for anti-competitive behavior, the EU is measuring it against its strict GDPR rules, and basically everyone wants to make sure this new system really, truly respects user consent.
Okay, so let's bring all of this back home. Let's forget about the tech giants and the regulators for a second. How is this actually going to change your day-to-day experience of just using the internet? Well, in the short term, you'll probably see fewer of those annoying accept all cookies pop-ups, which is nice. The ads you see might feel a little more generic at first, and you'll also find some new privacy controls inside your Chrome settings. But long-term, the really big shift is that your browser, which, let's be honest, means Google, is going to be making a lot more of these ad-related decisions for you, supposedly on your behalf. But even with all these changes, the basics of good digital hygiene still matter. You absolutely can, and you should, go into your Chrome settings to see and manage the ad topics it's assigned to you. Regularly clearing your data is always a smart move. And look, if you want even stronger protections, there are other browsers out there like Firefox or Brave that block this kind of stuff much more aggressively by default.
At the end of the day, this whole thing is a massive experiment. It's a huge attempt to completely reinvent the economic engine of the web for a world that is, and rightly so, demanding more privacy. The outcome of this is absolutely going to redefine that delicate balance between convenience, advertising, and our fundamental rights online for years to come.
So we're left with this huge open question. The very architecture of the internet is being rewritten as we speak. But when all the dust settles, will the result be a web that's genuinely more private for all of us, or will it just be a web that's more controlled by Google? That's the question we're all going to be answering together, whether we realize it or not.